We've got plenty to talk about today. Hope you're having a wonderful afternoon. Fantasy football drafts are happening. We will have a draft on this show. And if you guys are looking for advice on how to build your team, if you already have a team and you're trying to make some adjustments, how to go about that. If you are scouting, if your draft's in a few weeks, we've got some tips, sleepers, and players to focus on for you as well. And of course, the latest injury news. As of course, with camps, with actual football, comes injuries. We'll be talking about that. Jahmyr Gibbs being the injury we're going to talk about the most. That said, welcome into the show, everyone. Butt Fumble Sports is here with you across TikTok, YouTube, Twitch, Kick, Instagram Live, as many channels as we can. Hope you're having a wonderful day, no matter where you are. We are going to be doing fantasy football conversation. We are going to do sports betting research. I have already put in my time earlier today looking up some of my favorite plays of the day. They're already on the SHARPZ app if you're looking for them already. They'll be up on my big board in a moment. But if you have specific questions, we are here to help you out as well. So make sure you're throwing your questions, your comments in the chat, whether it's on TikTok, Instagram, YouTube, Twitch, or Kick. We are here for all of you guys, helping you guys out wherever we can. We love hearing your questions, whether it's like sports fan Gav, who's asking about Brandon Ayuk to the Steelers. What do you think about the Pickens value? So we're going to talk about trades that could happen in the NFL or in your fantasy teams. We're going to dive into the MLB matchups of the day as well. We've got a full slate of MLB. Yankees. Are they going to poop their pinstripe pants for a second day in a row? We'll look at the research behind that as well. Appreciate all of you guys joining us. If you are watching us on Instagram, TikTok, Twitch, Kick, I don't care what platform, hit the follow button. Make sure you're a member of this amazing community of sports fans that comes together almost every single day. It's wonderful to have you with us. Hope you guys follow. Hope you subscribe. Hope you hit the like button, something we don't ask for a lot here, but if you love the content, let us know. Hit that like button no matter the platform you're watching on. We certainly appreciate the support. As always, we are going to answer your questions, have a lot of fun, hopefully entertain you. We are not a sports book. We're not endorsed by any sports book. I'm just a big sports fan who loves putting together this content for you every single day that we can. So, I mentioned some of the picks that I like earlier today. Like I mentioned, I did my research earlier today. A couple of things that I want to call out just for those that came for baseball bets before we dive into some fantasy football conversation and everything else. I really like the over in the Red Sox and Rangers game. Rangers, Red Sox, the over. Look to pair that with Marcus Semien and Corey Seager. Both of them very good numbers against Cutter Crawford, the starting pitcher of the Texas Rangers. Expecting a lot of offense in that game. One place you can look. I do think the Yankees bounce back and get a win, but look towards the under in that game. I think a lot of people are going to take the over. Nestor Cortez has not pitched very well on the road. I could easily see the White Sox covering a +2.5. A +3.5 obviously is a very safe play, but the line is that kind of crazy. So actually look for under and maybe a White Sox cover. Yankees on the money line, probably a safe bet as well. Diamondbacks on the money line is one we really like. That's really a reflection on the Rockies and the scenario that they have today. Those are a few of the plays that we really like. Wanted to call those out. My picks are already up on the SHARPZ app. I even posted some of my favorite bets on the SHARPZ app. I do that from time to time. So DM me on Instagram if you want every bet that I make for free. I give them away for free because I don't think you guys should ever have to pay for picks or pay for research or anything else. So make sure you DM me on Instagram to get access to every bet that I make every single day. Certainly appreciate you guys joining us. If you have questions, we're all about it. How about the over in the Orioles game? I went the other direction on that one. I actually took the under 9.5. I understand that there were some people out there who bet the over. I'm taking the under on it just based on the research that I did. Any Royals bets today? Tyler, I do like the Royals +1.5. Royals +1.5. I also have the under for that game, under 9.5. Couple of players that I like in that game. Bobby Witt Jr., obviously, you compare him, say Royals on +1.5. Bobby Witt Jr. over half a hit. That could be a one that gets you closer to even money, given that both of those are minus plays. On the other side, Willie Castro. Really like Willie Castro on the Twins side of things. So I actually have a parlay that's under 9.5. I think it's under 9.5 or under 10.5. With Bobby Witt Jr. over half a hit, Willie Castro over half a hit. I put a unit down on that, but that was at plus money. More and more what I'm doing is rather than taking minus 180 or minus 190 bets that are single bets, I'm parlaying those with something else. I'm doing 2-leg parlays that are getting me to plus money. That's how I'm betting games like that, the Royals game. Jack, are we doing fantasy talk today? We do fantasy talk every day, so if you're here for fantasy football conversation, we're certainly here for that. If you need help with your sports bets, we're here for that. Ethan Zimmerman over on Instagram Live. What's the best spot to draft for a 10-man PPR? We've talked about this quite a bit. It seems interesting that you guys are curious for the spot. Personally, I really like the 4 spot. One of the reasons I like 4 is, 1, I don't want to be in those first 3 spots in the first round. I feel like you get bullied into certain picks that you don't necessarily want to take. Second of all, I don't actually like being in that 1 or 2 spot at the very start of the draft because you're waiting a long time to actually get your second player, and that kind of hurts you. Now, I'm not saying drafting 4th is that much earlier, but if you're in a 10-man league, you end up playing more of the middle of the draft role, except for those few times where you see a trend running and you can kind of dive into that. So I really like 4. On the other side, I like 7 and I like 8. So I'm kind of one of those that I don't like to be at the polar ends. I'd actually rather be at the end of the first round than be at the start of the first round. But I like 4, I like 7, I like 8. Those are spots that I really like in drafts. What round should I draft a quarterback in? Personally, I wouldn't draft a quarterback before round 6. I think round 6 and 7, you can start to evaluate which quarterback on the board is best. But personally, I think there are a lot of quarterbacks that contribute value. But I've mentioned this before. The difference between quarterbacks 1 through 5 and the difference between quarterbacks 6 through 10, there's not just a huge fall off, but running backs, those top tier running backs. If you get one of the best running backs in the NFL, the difference between them, the wins above replacement, is significant. Quarterback, certainly not the same kind of equation or ratio. So I like getting 2 running backs, 2 wide receivers in the first 4 rounds at least. 5 rounds rather at least. Really, I like to do a pairing of 3 running backs, 2 wide receivers, or the other way around through the first 5 rounds. I won't start to look at quarterbacks until round 6. I would highly recommend that as well because there's no quarterback that could win you the league. There are certainly running backs and wide receivers that could. Andrew, imagine you traded your first round pick away. What's your strategy with the 2, 3, 4 picks? First pick at 2.10. Well, a couple of things here. 1, I would certainly try to address running back in that second round pick because you're already missing out on that. I wouldn't worry about it from a wide receiver standpoint. If you don't have a first round pick, you can end up getting a sleeper wide receiver 1 later in a draft. There are a number of wide receivers this year who may vault themselves into that top 10, top 15 conversation. Harder to say that about running backs. So I think, Andrew, I would make sure I address, like a normal draft, I'd address running back early, but then wide receiver, I think you're just going to go for more of those lottery pick wide receivers to see if you gamble into someone who ends up being a top tier wide receiver. That's how I'd approach that. Will Ayuk still produce on the Steelers? Did Brandon Ayuk get officially traded? Brandon Ayuk to Steelers reportedly awaits decision from the 49ers. So apparently there is something there. I'm still waiting on word. I'm sure we're all following news. It'll be interesting to know what ends up happening. But personally, if he goes to Pittsburgh, I don't love him for fantasy. I think he kind of has one of those years where people buy in thinking he's going to be part of a better offense. I still have the same questions about the Steelers I had before. Who's throwing the football to George Pickens and to Brandon Ayuk if he's there? It's not that I don't like the offense they've put around the quarterbacks, but I don't believe that much in Justin Fields. I certainly don't believe that much in Russell Wilson. If there's anyone who actually benefits, it is Justin Fields, because I think the Steelers see they're building a team around him that could succeed. He could benefit from that. I think the wheels are about to fall off Russell Wilson. But overall, I think Brandon Ayuk's fantasy value goes down. He's more valuable from a fantasy standpoint when he's on San Francisco. George Pickens, in some way, normally I would say a wide receiver gets another great wide receiver on the other side of the field. Their opportunity for points actually goes up because they're facing fewer double coverage. But George Pickens, he needs to be a high target guy. If he's not, you're relying too much on spectacular plays. I'm just not as big on George Pickens if Brandon Ayuk is there. So funny enough, if you're a Steelers fan, massive win. If Ayuk goes there, massive win. So don't hear it from that perspective. I'm not taking a shit on the trade. I love the trade if you're a Steelers fan and you're hoping they go to the playoffs. If you're a fantasy player, owner, Brandon Ayuk's value might go down on the Steelers. He was better suited for the 49ers offense, and he would have been more productive on that offensive in that offensive system for a number of reasons. So I think George Pickens' value actually takes a bit of a hit. Interestingly enough, I don't know what it means for like a Freiermuth. It actually might open up Freiermuth even more. Forgive me for spitting. Thoughts on Cooper Kupp, Lakin? I have a lot of questions about the Rams' offense. I think they are going to go primarily as a run-first offense and then play action off of that. I think that does mean that Cooper Kupp's one of those people that I don't really want to target or draft. It's not that I don't think he could have a good year. It's that I think his targets are going to be compromised by Puka Nacua. I think that the running game is going to be the primary focus of the offense. Cooper Kupp's one of those players where, do I think he can duplicate what he's done in the past? No, I think we've seen the best of him, and I do think it was a few years ago. Are you worried about CMC? No, this is what I expected for Christian McCaffrey this year. I think Christian McCaffrey will not be very successful this season, if I can be so blunt. I think that he had a phenomenal year last year in terms of luck, in terms of health. Everything went his way. We're already seeing this year isn't off to the same start. McCaffrey played almost every game last year. It was at the very end of the season where he ultimately didn't. So I don't think he'll have that kind of run of success. If he plays 12 games this year, I would actually be surprised. I feel like he's going to play about 10, 11 games. So over under 12 and a half games that McCaffrey actually plays is kind of where my mind's at. The Mayor, should I be concerned with Gibbs' hamstring injury? Have number 2 pick in mind this draft. I don't know the second part of that. But yes, I'd be concerned about Jahmyr Gibbs. Couple reasons. One, hamstring injuries are always tricky. Frankly, in some ways, you almost wish it were an ankle sprain. You almost wish it were a broken bone. Hamstrings are one of those things that persist, that stick around, and flare up throughout a career. You feel like you hear about guys who have hamstring issues, and they just kind of persist. That's one negative note for Jahmyr Gibbs. Number 2, David Montgomery. The Lions already know they have a good insurance policy at the running back position. So they're not in a position where they were so reliant on Jahmyr Gibbs that when the moment he comes back, they're just going to give him a high volume of carries. David Montgomery all of a sudden has sneaky value. He did before, it's gone up now because he's going to be a bell cow in ways that he was last year as they once again, much like the rookie season, ease Jahmyr Gibbs into his role. So I am a little bit concerned about it. Now, he's not going to play this preseason. That's probably a good thing. No other chance of injury. But I am a little disappointed if I were a Jahmyr Gibbs owner. This is not what you wanted to see. Appreciate you guys being with us. Hope you guys are loving the content, loving the show. If you guys do want some sports betting analysis, we are here for it. So if you need help with your sports bets today, we certainly can do that. Of course, we are also talking fantasy football because it's that time of year. Who would you take at 9? Kind of interesting. Jonathan Taylor is someone I really like at number 9. If Amon-Ra St. Brown falls, he is another candidate I really like at 9. Is Saquon Barkley good enough there? Now that Jahmyr Gibbs' value is kind of diminished, he's probably the next running back up that I like in that number 9 slot. Keep Bijan in the first or CD in the second, pick 11. Personally, Rick, thanks so much. That's a really tricky one because you are getting what would be the number 1 overall pick potentially in CD Lamb in what would be the second round. I love Bijan Robinson. Bijan's like my favorite or second favorite running back. CD Lamb is probably a top 2, top 3 wide receiver. You really can't go wrong. I'll say CD Lamb just because I do rank him higher than Bijan, but I don't think you can go wrong. Who's your favorite wide receiver 2 picks? Well, it depends kind of how your draft plays out. If you drafted a wide receiver in the first round and you're drafting a wide receiver in round 2 or round 3, Drake London, speaking of the Falcons, Drake London's a wide receiver 2 I would really like. If I got an Amon-Ra St. Brown in the first round, and then maybe I draft a running back in the second round and I go back to wide receiver in round 3, I would really like to go after a Chris Olave, a DK Metcalf, a Mike Evans, and these are some of the names because they're very consistent, they're very steady, they're still wide receiver ones, they have a good track record. I don't think they're going to lose into any of their targets or production based on who's come in over the offseason. So those are a couple of the names that I like. Drake London certainly stands out. He's maybe going on that fringe of rounds, end of round 2, round 3, round 4, so depending on where he comes out. I don't love him in round 2, actually. That would mean he's your wide receiver 1, and that's okay, but it could be better. Do I like Marvin Harrison Jr. at 2.12? So, yeah, because it really is, you're pretty much telling me he's a round 3 pick overall. Personally, I think he is worthy of a round 3 pick. I don't think he's worthy of a round 2, but the difference between that really is cutting hairs. Jaden Daniels, Caleb Williams, better fantasy season. I'm going to go out on a limb here, and I'm actually going to say, wow. Better fantasy season, I'm going to say it's Jaden Daniels, and here's why I say that. Caleb Williams will put up more passing yards potentially, even bigger passing numbers touchdown-wise, but rushing yards are so valuable in fantasy, and Jaden Daniels will be more valuable on the ground, so I give the nod to Jaden Daniels actually being the better fantasy quarterback. Who do I actually think is going to end up having the better season in terms of maybe awards? I think it will probably be Caleb Williams, but Jaden Daniels the better fantasy quarterback this year. Andrew, one of these rookies. Who is it? McConkey, Coleman, Worthy, Pearsall. I'd go Ladd McConkey. He'd be number 1. Worthy is probably going to go ahead of him, but Worthy's going to be contending for targets with a lot of other receivers, obviously, in that Chiefs offense. Helped a little bit by the fact that Hollywood Brown's out. So Worthy's value actually goes up. Pearsall's dealing with injury. I like Coleman, but McConkey is a clear number 1 for me, so I'd go McConkey 1, Worthy 2, Coleman 3. Pearsall, his value goes up if Brandon Ayuk is traded, but he needs to make sure he stays on the field health-wise. Devin, pick 2 for a keeper league. Barkley, Kyren Williams, and Olave. I'd keep Barkley and Kyren Williams. Barkley and Kyren Williams. Jack, Cooper Kupp, Waddle, or Walker, pick 2. I'd go Cooper Kupp and Waddle. I'm actually not in love with Kenneth Walker III. He could have a solid year, but there are plenty of other running backs that at least I can value in similar terms to him. I actually think Waddle and Kupp are the better plays. User 1248. I have the first overall pick in a 12-man league. Do you think CMC, DJ Moore, Cooper Kupp is a good start? What are you talking about with DJ Moore and Cooper Kupp? I don't know what you're talking about. CMC is the only one. I don't understand that. Do you think Murray and Harrison are reliable this year? Reliable is going to be the question. I think there are going to be some weeks where they have monster production, monster numbers. But, Jack, in terms of reliability, I think you're probably going to get 80% of the year, 75% of the year they're going to come through. So, overall, yes, I would consider that reliable. But they'll have a bust week every now and then. But I think overall they're going to be pretty solid in terms of production, especially Kyler. I think Kyler is actually going to have a really good year. It's Marvin Harrison Jr. who actually could hit some rookie walls. Andrew Luck or Dez Bryant in the second round. You got to go Dez Bryant. You got to avoid the quarterback in the second round, Thomas. Nick, pick 2 full PPR in a 12-man. Do I take CeeDee Lamb or Tyreek Hill? Personally, I take CeeDee Lamb. Cam, draft Justin Jefferson with Sam. Yeah, Sam Darnold starting for a long period because of the injury to J.J. McCarthy. Personally, I thought the value... I understand Sam Darnold could have a comeback year. I think Justin Jefferson's value plummeted. I thought T.J. Hawkinson's value plummeted. I thought Jordan Addison's value plummeted. They may have a game or two where they really come through, but week to week, I'm just not going to rely on them at the same rate. Now, Sam Darnold was probably going to be the starting quarterback anyways, but I'm actually telling you how I felt already. Now it kind of cements that, because it means Sam Darnold's in that number 1 spot, and he is going nowhere. So that's how I come out. I told you guys yesterday I'm fading the Minnesota Vikings, and it just kind of leads me to believe that that plan is even more in place. Frankly, a tank year for preparations for next year around J.J. McCarthy. Even if he comes back. Aaron Jones' value goes up a little bit. I'll agree with that, Craig. Maybe Aaron Jones' value goes up a little bit, but I wanted nothing to do with Aaron Jones in the first place. Who would you take right now with the number 1 pick? Probably CeeDee Lamb. Christian McCaffrey's injury probably impacts that enough. Overall, I'd really like to draft Breece Hall or Bijan. That's why I'm thinking fourth is the best place to draft. Royce Tooth, should you draft CeeDee, Chase if they are still there? It's CeeDee Lamb for me, even over Jamar Chase. Even with the injury to is Jefferson a solid wide receiver one? I'm just not going to trust it. I mentioned it yesterday. The reason I'm not trusting it really has to do with the fact that the Minnesota Vikings have no incentive to play him if there's any risk of him getting hurt. They have no reason to risk this season or long-term success because of this season, rather. They're not going to the playoffs. It's not even a J.J. McCarthy-like experiment year. I think the injury to J.J. McCarthy really put a damper on everything Minnesota Vikings, and I just believe Justin Jefferson's value goes down because of it. 12-man PPR, 8th pick. I got Bijan, Wilson, Evans, Jacobs, Keenan Allen, Kincaid, Kyler. Thoughts? Really strong team. Probably a B-plus team overall, if not even better than that. Really strong team. Maddie, Keeper League, Tyreek Hill. I have 10th pick in a 10-man league. Should I go running back? Yes, 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 yes. Swim. Should I take Bijan at number 1? You can. Would it be considered a reach? Maybe a little bit, but I think he finishes the top 5 running back, so I think it would be worth it. But I do think there's a little bit of risk there. Again, if you guys want to talk some baseball betting research, we certainly can do that. So if you want help with your baseball bets, just hit me up. We're more than happy to help you guys out. But obviously, we're going to focus our research on what you guys care about. Rams are looking good as underdogs this year. Cody, I don't know what to make of the Rams defense. That's going to be the biggest story for me in the NFC West, actually, is are the Rams capable of being a good defense without Aaron Donald? It's been a few years anyway since they were a quality defense. Andrew, Judge getting the 300th home run of his career today. I believe he will. It's actually the anniversary of his first start in Major League Baseball, or the first home run, rather, which came in his first at-bat, so yeah. That said, I do think Aaron Jones hits a home run today in Chicago. Not great value on it. I think right now it's at like plus 185, so not a great return on the investment, actually. Might want to pair it with something else. Is Travis Etienne a strong RB1? I have to admit, maybe personal bias is getting in the way here, but between his injuries and how I feel about the Jacksonville Jaguars offense overall, I would consider him a really strong RB2. I don't know if I can rely on him to be an RB1. Can he stay healthy? I love him in a PPR league to be a top-tier RB2. He could be maybe the best RB2. But as an RB1 on my squad, I feel like I'm week to week watching that injury report and always a little bit nervous about him. Sal, do I like Alex Bregman over 1.5 bases? Not only do I like that, I like Alex Bregman over 1.5 hits, runs, and RBIs. Sal, Alex Bregman, good numbers against the pitcher he's facing today. So yes, I do feel that way. Additionally, Yandy Diaz is another player to keep your eye on, as well as Dylan Carlson. A couple hitters in the Rays lineup actually hit the starting pitcher of the Astros pretty well, Kikuchi. So you might want to consider taking a few of those guys and maybe the Rays on a cover play. Jacob, any mocks today? We don't actually do any mocks. We do real leagues. Now, they're 0 league fees. If you guys want to do a rival fantasy draft, I am totally willing to do that. I'll set that up right now, so if you want to do a fantasy football league with me, DM me on Instagram right now. Buttfumble Sports, this will be our 12th league that we've started this season. DM me on Instagram right now, Buttfumble Sports, if you want to join what will be an 8-man PPR league. We're going to keep things pretty simple today. We'll make it an 8-man league. So DM me on Instagram if you want to get in on this draft. It's open to everybody, so obviously make sure you DM me, get in on the draft. We've got a lot of folks who want to join, so great to get everyone started with a little bit of fantasy football on this Tuesday. Got tickets to Rams Bears. Cody, you must be pumped, man. Trade Kamara and T. Higgins for Justin Jefferson. No. I would not do that. I'd rather have Kamara and T. Higgins. Dylan, running back, I'll say is Breece Hall. Top quarterback. I'll say is Lamar Jackson. Top wide receiver, I'll say is Amon-Ra St. Brown. Top tight end, I'm going to go Trey McBride. Appreciate you guys joining the show. Hope you guys are excited about the fantasy football season. If you want to join a fantasy football draft with Butt Fumble Sports, DM me on Instagram, Butt Fumble Sports. It is a season-long league. So if you want to get in on it, DM me on Instagram. More than happy to have you join this 8-man PPR league. This one's going to fill up pretty fast. We'll do some other leagues as well, so you don't have to worry about getting shut out if you want to get in on this league. We actually have only 3 slots left, so if you do want to participate, let us know now. 2 slots left. Thoughts on Ramondre with Gibson now in the picture? Kind of interesting. I think Ramondre Stevenson actually has pretty good value. Again, as RB2 or as a third running back in kind of a flex role. But you're right. I think Antonio Gibson is going to eat into his production. I'm not worried about it overall. Let's put it this way. I have enough questions about the Patriots offense. Him splitting time with Gibson isn't concern number one. The offensive line is concern number one, and probably what would keep me away from Ramondre Stevenson anyways. Thoughts on Achane? I do like Achane. Again, he's in a split back situation there in Miami, but I do think he's the RB1, and I love him in that offense. I wouldn't want him to be my RB1 in fantasy, but I want him to be my RB2. Rank them: Higgins, Pickens, Ridley. I'll say Pickens 1, I'll say Ridley 1, Pickens 2, Higgins 3. It changes with DeAndre Hopkins' injury. I think Ridley becomes the wide receiver 1 on his squad. I actually have a little bit more faith in him, I think, than Pickens. Pickens is very hit or miss. He either has a monster performance with some highlight catches, or I feel like he has 1 catch for 20 yards. Now, that may be a result of Kenny Pickens being the quarterback last year, but he's got Russell Wilson and Justin Fields now, so it's not like he's upgrading to Tom Brady. With that said, I think Ridley and Will Levis could actually be a decent dynamic, so I'll say Ridley just ahead of Pickens. Higgins, I like him in that, obviously I like him in that Cincinnati offense, but he's not the wide receiver 1, so he's getting fewer targets. Delio, do you think the Braves make the playoffs? Great question. I'll say yes. I know that the Arizona Diamondbacks are making a push in the West, as are the San Diego Padres, but I think right now the Braves have just enough talent in their roster to get them over the top. I also think a couple other teams are going to fade, so that'll benefit them. Their experience will go a long way. If you want to join a fantasy league with us, DM me on Instagram. Oh, a bunch of people want to get in on it. Sorry, now getting that link out to you. So, Ali, if you want to get in on this league, there you go. Danny, if you want to get in on this league, there you go. We've got Evan sending you a link for this league. Now, we only have 1 spot left for this one. Just got filled. 2 spots left, rather. One left now. We will do another league right after this. So if you don't get in on this draft, don't worry. We will do another draft right after this, giving everyone the opportunity to get involved in a fantasy football league with Butt Fumble Sports. Snagged a rookie 3 of 5 Puka card. Cody, very nice. Too much for the bullshit. It is great to see you, buddy. It's been a minute. Ayuk to Steelers. Thoughts? Traded him for Hurts last week. So overall, I mentioned it earlier, I think this is a good move, obviously, for the Steelers in their pursuit of another winning season and a postseason berth. I don't love it. I haven't seen what the 49ers get, so before I say if I like it for the 49ers, I've got to see what they get in return. But overall, from a fantasy standpoint, I think it's a bad thing for Brandon Ayuk. I think he was better suited, actually, to be in San Francisco from a fantasy standpoint. So a little disappointed about that fantasy-wise. When it comes to just football, I think it's a cool thing. I think it's a great trade for the Steelers. Just randomized the draft order. We will draft in about 3 minutes, everybody. 3 minutes for this 8-man draft. So 8-man PPR league will get started in about 3 minutes. Who do I take at the 5th spot in a 10-man full PPR? I'd take Bijan Robinson if he's there. Bijan Robinson. Riley, 10-man PPR. CeeDee Lamb, Harrison Jr., Henry, Waddle, Allen, Montgomery, and Kittle. Thoughts? Strong team. I would give it a B+ at worst. I think it's really good. Your running backs are a little bit of a question for me. They're bell cows, but at the same time, they're certainly not the guys I would want. Do you have an RB1 technically? Is Derrick Henry going to be that? If your running backs are better than I think in terms of production, it's an A- team. Right now, I'll say it's a B+. Austrian, what are you talking about? You already have information when it happened? So people are saying that the Steelers have acquired Ayuk. We're still waiting on official word. I know there are a couple of folks out there who are keeping track on X or Twitter, whatever, to let us know. So if you do hear word of it being official, of Brandon Ayuk officially being traded, let us know. I'd be really curious to know if we can confirm that. MLB picks. Here are some of my favorite MLB picks. I like the Marlins and Phillies under 9.5. I like the Cardinals and Reds. Cardinals and Reds under 9.5. Cardinals and Reds under 9.5. I like the Rangers and the Red Sox over 7.5. Rangers and Red Sox over 7.5. I like the Yankees on the money line, but I like the White Sox at plus 2.5. And I like the under 9.5 in that game. I also like the Diamondbacks on the money line. Diamondbacks on the money line. Some of my favorite hitters for today's baseball action. Love Corey Seager. Obviously, Corey Seager's been on fire. Marcell Ozuna, another one that we want to keep our eye on. Dansby Swanson in that Guardians and Cubs game. Toro for the Athletics. Those are a couple of the names. Alex Bregman and Yandy Diaz. Those are a couple that we brought out. Niners are getting a first. Austrian, let us know. Who would you draft at 3 in a fantasy football? 3 overall, probably Breece Hall. O's and Phillies today. Caleb, so I did go with that bet, but to be honest, there's reason actually for me to believe that both teams don't cover. So there's a part of me that actually likes Nationals plus 1.5, Phillies plus 1.5. I took the under in both games. Kind of an interesting one there. Who do you like between Jonathan Brooks, Chase Brown, and Jaylen Warren? Probably Jaylen Warren the most. I'd go Jaylen Warren then Chase Brown. I think that's where I'm coming out on that. Is taking Breece Hall 1 overall crazy? I don't actually think it is. I don't think it's as crazy as it may first sound, especially with the Christian McCaffrey injury. That plays a factor. Okay, let's get this draft started, everybody. Draft just got started. Draft is underway. So if you're in this 8-man PPR league that we are starting, draft is underway. Christian McCaffrey, first overall off the board. Make sure you hit the follow button. Make sure you subscribe. Make sure you're with us every time that we're live. Christian McCaffrey, Breece Hall went 1-2. CeeDee Lamb went 3. I'm going Bijan Robinson 4. It's an 8-man league. When you're in an 8-man PPR league, easy to get a really good team. So just make sure that you're drafting players early that are high value. Really, 8-man league, it really is about talent on the board, less so than strategy, because you're just going to get a lot of talent. Hope you guys are loving the content and loving the show. Make sure you hit that follow button. Make sure you're with us every time we're live. We're live almost every single day. We certainly will be during the football season outside of any travel I have to do. Tyreek Hill just came off the board with the 5th overall pick. Justin Jefferson goes 6th. Interesting, Jonathan. We will do another draft after this if you guys missed out on this draft. Carlos, what's good? Favorite over-under for MLB today, Ryan. Red Sox, Rangers, over. I took it at over 7.5 and over 8.5, but I love the over in Red Sox and Rangers. Red Sox and Rangers over in that one. I'd probably say my second favorite is Cardinals and Reds under. I took the under 9.5 in that one. Dylan, Jamar Chase and Jonathan Taylor, good picks. Jahmyr Gibbs still comes off the board in round 2. Hassan, any pitchers? Nope, no pitcher bets for me. Do you like Reds money line or Red Sox money line better? Benjamin, I'm not crazy about either one, to be fair. Carlos, I am pick 11 in a 12-man. What should my picks be in the 3rd round? First 3 rounds, I would go running back, wide receiver. Speaking of going running back, I got Bijan Robinson in round 1. I'm going Kyren Williams in round 2. I think those are 2 of the top 5 running backs this year in fantasy, and the fact I got them in the 1st and 2nd round. By the way, in spot number 4, I mentioned it earlier, what's my favorite spot to draft in? It's number 4 for me, certainly in an 8-man league, but even in a 10-man league. Drafting fourth is one of my favorites. Thoughts on Travis Kelce this year? I still think he puts up top 5 tight end numbers fantasy-wise. I think the other receivers in the Chiefs offense on one level will help him. He'll be open more often. On the other level will hurt him. He'll be targeted less. So I think it kind of is a wash there. I think he has a pretty good season, though. What's my favorite money line today? Yankees on the money line is probably my favorite money line. But additional money lines I like. I do like the Guardians on the money line. Love the Diamondbacks on the money line. Diamondbacks on the money line is another one that I love. Thoughts on Jordan Love? I actually think Jordan Love's an example of a quarterback you can wait for. Wait until round, 9, 10, maybe even 11 to draft him. He'll put up good numbers. He's not going to get the rushing yards that other quarterbacks will, but he's certainly valuable enough where I feel like he's worth drafting. By the way, I'll go Drake London. In round 3, I took Bijan Robinson round 1, Kyren Williams round 2, Drake London in round 3. I had the chance to take Marvin Harrison Jr. He went right after Drake London. I went with London. I'd rather go with the more experienced player here, but Marvin Harrison Jr. in round 3, Jacob, that was a good pick. I was certainly thinking about it. Who would you take at 4th overall? I would take Breece Hall or Bijan Robinson, depending on who's available. Skabal over 7.5 strikeouts. Benjamin, we'll check it out. We're doing the draft right now. I'll do my research on that. Let's see if I can jump into that while we're kind of doing our draft, so I'm splitting between 2 different things. If you're watching over on YouTube, Twitch, or Kick, forgive the interruption of the draft. It's the Tigers. Mariners. Tigers, 7.5 strikeouts. Let's take a look at the draft. Making our way through round 3, okay? It's been a pretty solid trend, at least over his last 6 starts. 5 out of his last 6 this has hit. At home, 5 out of his last 6. If you could buy it down and get it at 6.5, I like it. Going to Fangraphs. On the road against the left-handed starter. The Mariners in terms of strikeouts. Pretty high. I would take the over. So Benjamin, I would go over for Skabal and strikeouts. Who wins? Marvin Harrison Jr. and McLaurin for Olave and Javonte. Marvin Harrison Jr. and McLaurin. User 9027. Marvin Harrison Jr. and McLaurin would be the winning side of that trade for me. Jackson, rank the team. Hurts, Pollard, Moss. Ford, Tyreek Hill, Marvin Harrison Jr., Evans, Andrews. Don't love it. I think I'd give it a B, B minus. The running backs are very questionable there. I don't know if you have a true RB1 on that squad. I don't really like it. I'd give it a B minus. I might even lower that. By the way, this draft going exactly how I want. I got Bijan Robinson and Kyren Williams in rounds 1 and 2. I got Drake London in round 3. I'm going to take Chris Olave in round 4. I said it to you guys. My perfect outcome is running backs in rounds 1 and 2, wide receivers in rounds 3 and 4, and then either a running back or a wide receiver in round 5 to be that flex. I prefer that to probably be a running back, but I really watch the board to see where the value is. Some people, a quarterback has been taken. Quarterback coming off the board in round 4. I think that's early, but starts to make a little bit more sense. Thoughts on Jefferson with McCarthy out? I'm just fading the Vikings. I don't want anything to do with the Vikings. Something I like to do when building my fantasy football strategy is identify who are the top 5 offenses in the NFL. Who are the top 10 offenses in the NFL? I want to buy in the best. If you're doing fantasy baseball, you want to buy in the best offenses. If you're doing fantasy basketball, fantasy football, same thing. I want to buy in the best. The Vikings are going to be a bottom 10 offense we would expect, right, with Sam Darnold. I'm just not going to buy them. I'm not going to buy Aaron Jones. I'm not going to buy Justin Jefferson. I'm not going to buy Jordan Addison. I'm not going to buy TJ Hawkinson. I'll let other people chase the Vikings and hope they succeed. I'll try to buy players that I think are going to be really good on teams that have opportunity value or have been established as one of the better offenses in the league, because the Vikings have a lot of question marks. Craig took Trey McBride in the 5th round. That's a little early for me. 3 running backs, 1 wide receiver, 1 tight end. Little high for me, especially running backs still on the board. Wide receiver still on the board. Tight end on the board. I'll go DeAndre Swift. I thought about taking David Montgomery. Kind of interesting now that the Jahmyr Gibbs news is out. But when Gibbs comes back or is healthy, it's going to still lean into David Montgomery's value. So DeAndre Swift, he's the RB1 on the Bears. I kind of prefer him over Montgomery. Mason, I'm so sorry to take a shit on the Vikings. If you're a Vikings fan and you just watched the show, I'm sure you're like, what the hell, Butt Fumble Sports? But if you're a Vikings fan, you also know that what comes with the territory. So, Charlie got Lamb, 5th pick overall. Great pick, Charlie. That's a steal and a half right there. Great pick. Jordan, would you take Barkley with the 14th pick in a 12-man? Absolutely, Jordan. Think that's a great pick for you. Well done. If you've got questions, comments, let me know. Dante, what's good? Jorge, thoughts on Henry Lamar pair in fantasy? It's okay, but frankly, I don't love it, actually. Jordan asks, who's the 4 tight ends you're targeting and 2 quarterbacks? 4 tight ends I really like. Trey McBride, Sam Laporta, Dalton Kincaid, and obviously Travis Kelce would probably fill out as the fourth tight end. 2 quarterbacks I really like. Anthony Richardson, Lamar Jackson is a no-brainer. If you're looking for someone who's got a little bit more value at a lesser spot in the draft, Kyler Murray. Kyler Murray certainly has some value. I think Jaden Daniels has a little bit of value there. Jordan Goff, for a non-running quarterback, I think Jordan Goff could have a very good year. Thoughts on Marvin Harrison Jr. in fantasy? I think he'll be good. I don't know if he's going to live up to the hype right now. I think people are drafting him like he's already established himself in the NFL. I think it may take a little time. I think he's going to have a really good year. I think he could be one of the better rookies in the NFL. But from a fantasy standpoint, there may be some weeks where you rely on him where he doesn't quite show up. So I'll need to see the consistency in order to really buy into him. I like him, but I wouldn't want to reach on him. As I mentioned, I like him in round 3. If somehow he fell to round 4, he's a steal. But right now it's round 3 for me, not round 2. Mike Evans or Nico Collins? I'd go Mike Evans, I think. Him being wide receiver 1 in the Bucs offense makes the difference for me. I'm going back to the well at wide receiver. Speaking of wide receiver, I am now getting my 3rd wide receiver, and it's going to be DK Metcalf. I'm having a dream draft right now. So far, my first 6 picks, Bijan Robinson, Kyron Williams, Drake London, Chris Olave, DeAndre Swift, and DK Metcalf. 3 running backs, 3 wide receivers. All 3 are the number 1 option at their position on their team. Love what I'm building here. There's been a bit of a run on tight end right after that. Am I disappointed? A little bit, but not enough to feel like it was worth going after a tight end over DK Metcalf. I actually really like that pick. Sorry, can you say your top 5 tight ends? Okay, I'd go in no particular order. My top 5 tight ends: Trey McBride, Sam Laporta, Dalton Kincaid, Travis Kelce, and I'll probably say Kyle Pitts. Kyle Pitts will probably be 5th for me, though there are a couple of tight ends who could sneak into that 5 spot. Ideal place to pick in a 12-man. I really like 7. 7 and 8 seems to be a good spot. 4, 7, and 8. 4, 7, and 8. I am going to go tight end. There's been a run on tight end, so I get Kyle Pitts here. Kyle Pitts in the 7th round. So I did double up on running backs or double up on Falcons. I actually have all 3 Falcons. Okay, I made a mistake. I didn't recognize what I was doing. Bijan Robinson, Drake London, and Kyle Pitts. One too many Atlanta Falcons on my team, so that's the mistake by me. Do you like the Reds today? I like the under in that game. So Lee Dance, I like the under in Cardinals Reds, but if I like the Reds on the money line, it's only by a small margin. I'm a little bit nervous about that one. Would you rather have Chris Olave or Marvin Harrison Jr.? Ooh, great question. Probably Marvin Harrison. Wow. I'll say Marvin Harrison Jr., but I really don't know if I'm buying it. I think he's going to get drafted sooner, and I think that's leading me to believe, but I'll say Marvin Harrison Jr., but it's close. Dom, Kyler Murray, Breece Hall, Derrick Henry, Diggs, Ridley, McBride, Walker in the flex, Godwin. Really strong team. I like the starting lineup. Not crazy about your bench, actually. I'll give it a B, B+. I think you're a little reliant on the Arizona Cardinals, actually. Got offered Freiermuth, a first-round pick, second-round pick for Kincaid. Thoughts? I'd probably do it. I don't think Kincaid is that big. Like, is he going to get that much production? That's a lot of value in exchange. Top running backs, Bijan Robinson, Breece Hall, Kyron Williams. If Jahmyr Gibbs is able to stay healthy, I think he's right there. Jonathan Taylor. Saquon Barkley in terms of production. I don't know if he's going to get the rushing yards, but the touchdowns should be there. New York Mets tonight. I actually took the A's to cover. I took A's plus 1.5. I did take the Yankees on the money line, but I took the White Sox at plus 2.5. So I'm kind of fading the New York teams just a little bit. Appreciate you guys being with us. Hope you guys are loving the content, loving the show. Make sure you hit the follow button. Make sure you subscribe. Make sure you're with us every time that we're live. Eric, I had a good weekend. I always have a good weekend. Life's amazing. Life's amazing. Whether you are talking fantasy football or you're doing sports betting or you're just spending time with family and friends, like, life's great. I don't know if you guys know this, but existing is amazing. Not to be that guy who's like overly positive, but I am. Existence is the best, and non-existence is awful. So every day that I exist, every day I've got air in my lungs, the ability to live is phenomenal. I never have a bad day, to be honest with you. Not true, but almost true. San Diego over 8 total runs. I don't know, G-Bucks. I avoided the total in that game. I like the Padres on the money line, but I'm not crazy about it. If you have questions, comments, if there's something you want to get off your chest, feel free. Eric, you can't get to me. I'm always in good spirits. If you guys want to join the show as a guest, feel free, everybody. I actually have the speaker set up, so if you want to join the show as a guest, feel free. The Will Levis commercial is hilarious. I don't like Will Levis, but I do appreciate the fact that he's leaning into the fact that he's a meathead. Good spots for a 10-man league. I would say 4, 7, and 8. 4, 7, and 8 are my favorite spots for a 10-man league. Hopefully you guys are having a wonderful Tuesday. Kike, hope your day is going well. It is. Thoughts on taking Cooper Kupp in the second round, not feeling the Puka hype. I think taking Cooper Kupp in the second round is absolutely a reach. Drew, would you rather have Amon-Ra St. Brown or JT at the 8th pick? Wow, that's tough. I'll probably say Amon-Ra St. Brown, believe it or not, but that is a coin flip of a pick. I'd probably draft a running back, so I think Amon-Ra St. Brown's the better pick. I would still probably draft a running back, though. Sorry about it. Bijan and Etienne in the first 2, is that valid? Yeah, I actually think that's a great pick, Gabe. I like Etienne as the second running back in a PPR draft. I actually like that 1-2 combination. In a fantasy draft, who should I start with players? I mean, Lopez, we've got a long way to go if we're just getting those questions. Have a 1.12, who would you target back-to-back picks? I really like the combination of a Jonathan Taylor and a Saquon Barkley. I also like a Garrett Wilson as a wide receiver in that turnaround spot. So getting one of those 2 running backs and maybe Garrett Wilson. Would you draft any quarterbacks in early rounds? No. 6th round is probably the earliest I'd draft a quarterback. 5th round, maybe. But really, I just got Anthony Richardson in what? The 8th round? You know, Anthony Richardson could be a top 3 fantasy quarterback, top 5 fantasy quarterback because of his rushing yards, as well as we could deliver through the air. So, a lot of reason for me to believe that just like, nah, you don't need to reach on a quarterback. Plenty of quarterbacks. This league is so much about offense. Quarterbacks are so protected. They have so many opportunities to score points. By the way, Jacob, great pick. Jacob took Terry McLaurin. I literally was about to take him. I'll take Rashee Rice instead, but a great pick by Jacob. Jacob, you've had a couple picks, man, where I was like, damn, that is the exact player I was going to take. 12-team auction. By the way, Kane Dog brings up a great point. If you don't do auction drafts, if you aren't in an auction league, get yourself in one. They are the best. Auction draft leagues are freaking awesome. They are the most fun you'll ever have in a draft. It's like having your Super Bowl in the draft. They are amazing. So if you have the opportunity to be in an auction draft league, I so highly recommend it. I think it's the best. One, you actually get to compete against each other for every player. And two, you're not relying on the stupid snake order to get the players you want. So, love everything about it. Kane Dog, 12-team auction draft, 300 per league in a PPR. Who in the top 5 are you paying the most for? I'm paying the most for Bijan. I'm paying the most for CeeDee Lamb. I'm paying the most for Breece Hall. Christian McCaffrey will get the most, but I wouldn't spend the money on him. Tyreek Hill, probably the same thing. I think those will be the 5 highest dollar amounts, but only 3 of them I actually think are worth the money. Not only is Snake too easy, forgive me, this is a rant I go on every fantasy football draft season. I am a capitalist, okay? I think that we should have competition by the dollar. It shouldn't be communism where you get your turn and you're just stuck in that turn. If I want Breece Hall, I should be able to compete to have Breece Hall. I shouldn't have to be, praying that the draft snake draft gods bless me with picks 1 through 4 or 5. It's just stupid. Now I know there's some leagues where like you compete. Like I'm in one league where they do the Royal Rumble on the WWE video game, and like whoever your character, whatever point, where they end up is where you draft. It's cool, whatever. But like if you're just doing a snake draft, like I hate it. Auction's so much better. Ethan, keeper league. Who should I keep? Pacheco, Kyron. I'd keep Kyron Williams. Ethan, I'd keep Kyron Williams. Is Pickens over for if Ayuk goes to the Steelers? I think Pickens is overrated anyways, but I certainly think his value goes down with Ayuk. He'll get fewer double coverage. He'll have fewer double coverage moments, but he'll also have fewer targets. So actually, I'm a big believer in value goes down for George Pickens. We got a caller, everybody. We got a caller. Frank wants to call in. Oh, Frank, maybe he doesn't want to call in. If you do want to call, just come on the line. I'm more than happy to have guests if you want to join the line. Can you do your 1 through 12 draft picks? No, Kobe, I won't do that. You can just watch a draft that we do. So I'm not going to do that, no. KJ Smooth, I actually like the under. Cardinals, Reds, I took under 9.5. What's the hate on snake drafts? It's just lame. They're fine, but they're weak. Like, there's no competition. You're just waiting your turn. I don't like that. It's a deli line. I want to compete. I want to compete for every player. I want to compete to build the team that I want to have. And I love the opportunity to be able to do that as often as I can. Frank, you want to come on as a guest? If you want to come on as a guest, hit me up, man. Frank, I have the 10th pick. At 10th pick, Jonathan Taylor makes a lot of sense to me. Any money line picks you like today? I really like Diamondbacks money line. I like the Yankees, obviously, on the money line. I like the Guardians on the money line. Those are 3 money line plays that I really like. I'm taking some chances as well. I like the White Sox plus 3.5. I like the Athletics at plus 1.5. I like the Rangers at plus 1.5. So those are some underdogs that I like to cover. Making our way through this draft. We are doing an 8-man PPR draft. We're in round 13. We'll probably do one more draft after this. So if you guys do want to participate in another fantasy draft with us, DM me on Instagram right now. We're going to get that going immediately after this draft ends. So if you want to participate in another fantasy league, these are real leagues, everybody. We compete all season long. If you want to compete against us on Rival Fantasy in some fantasy leagues, DM me on Instagram and we will set you up with the link. Good pick by Jake to get us going on defense. Right idea. Round 13, 14, 15, that's when defense should be selected. No sooner, but round 13, I'm okay using a pick on a defense then. Yankees, Guardians, Diamondbacks 1%. You got it. What round is Diggs going? I'm noticing him going out a lot in like round 5. Where did he go in this one? Yeah, keeps moving on me. Yeah, round 5 is where he went in this draft. I'm noticing it a lot there. Personally, I don't love him in round 5. Again, I think his production goes down, fewer targets. For example, Mike Evans was drafted right after Diggs. I'd rather have Mike Evans, and it's not close. So I'd rather have Evans over Stephon Diggs. I'd rather have Michael Pittman over Stephon Diggs. I'd rather have DK Metcalf over Stephon Diggs. So, gives you a sense of how I'm thinking about things. This is a great team. I drafted too many Falcons, but outside of that, I really like this squad. Brees or Jahmyr Gibbs? I'd go Brees Hall. Danny, maybe try rewriting it. I think there are some words that are accidentally banned, so maybe you just wrote it with a banned word accidentally. 0 running back strategy in auction drafts. I've heard a lot about people talking about the 0 running back strategy. If people want to do that, like, go for it. Like, I love it. Like, go for it. That's like telling me I'm going to make billions of dollars by buying GameStop stock. I'm not saying you can't, and I'm not saying there aren't people who haven't succeeded doing that. I just doubt that most people can do it successfully. So, if you want to do a 0 running back strategy, like, go for it. Like, I hope everyone in my league does that, because I'll just get the best running backs. So, personally, I'd rather actually load up on running backs as opposed to not drafting running backs. Call me crazy, I'll be the guy who actually drafts the most valuable position. Should I take Josh Allen at 40? $40 or 40th in the draft? What's the 40? 40th overall? Like, I don't know if that has any relevance. Personally, no, I think it's too early. And I'm not very big on Josh Allen this year anyways. His offense is going to be nearly as good as it was last year, so reason for me to kind of go low on him. Best fantasy rookie wide receiver? I'll say it's Marvin Harrison Jr. I mean, that's going to be number 1, I think, in terms of fantasy value. I think Malik Neighbors has the potential to be that, but I'd rather invest in Kyler Murray as quarterback for my wide receiver than Daniel Jones. That's why I prefer Marvin Harrison Jr. over Malik Neighbors. Garrett Wilson or Jahmyr Gibbs? Chase, I'd go Garrett Wilson. Thoughts on Rachaad White and who to target instead? Rachaad White's okay. He had a great year last year. I don't know if he can duplicate that kind of success. We are going to start another league, everybody. New league. This is going to be a 10-man draft. BFS 13. This is going to be a very quick draft, everybody. It's going to be a 10-man draft, but each pick is going to be 15 seconds. So we're going to be moving. So make sure if you join this draft, it's going to be fast. You're going to have to know what you're doing ahead of time. It's going to be a fast draft, okay? So if you want to participate, DM me on Instagram. That's Butt Sports. DM me on Instagram if you want to get in on this draft. Again, it's going to be a 15-second draft. 15 seconds per pick. So it's going to go very fast. It's a PPR league. So just like the drafts we've done, if you want to be a part of it, DM me on Instagram right now. Butt Sports on Instagram. DM me on Instagram to get a link for the league. Again, a 10-man PPR league. It's going to be 15 seconds per pick, so it's going to move very fast. Let's see how many spots have been filled. 7 spots filled up. We're filling up leagues fast now, everybody. People are into the fantasy football mode. We've definitely entered the season. So, 7 spots filled. 3 spots left. If you want to get in on this draft, DM me right now. Butt Fumble Sports, DM me. It's going to be a fast draft. It's going to be a quick one. Only 2 slots left. Only 2 slots left. So if you want to get in on the league, better do so now. Butt Fumble Sports is going to be doing as many leagues as we can up until the kickoff of the season. So if you don't get in on this one, don't worry. Plenty of opportunities to get in on another one. This is going to be our 13th league that we've drafted. 13th league we'll be competing in. You guys, I hope are having a lot of fun, learning a lot from us. We have 1 slot to fill, and it's been filled. Okay, we're going to do another draft. Reminder, this is a 15 seconds per pick. So be quick, everybody. Know what you're doing. It's going to start in 2 minutes. We're going to randomize the draft order. Draft order has been randomized. Draft starts in 90 seconds. 90 seconds, you have 15 seconds per pick. 90 seconds until the draft, 15 seconds per pick. So make sure you're ready to go, everyone. It's going to go fast. Oh, John Tosh, sorry. I will put it in the Twitch next time. Sorry about that. Drew, yeah, I like JT a lot. Thoughts on Mixon and Kamara? I think both have value as an RB2 or as a flex play. I don't like them as RB1s, though. How do you keep up with so many teams? I love what I do. Butt Fumble Sports. We're going to be competing against you guys all season long. Who would you pick at 3 overall? Breece Hall. Breece Hall or Bijan? Jamar Chase or Breece Hall? I'd go Breece Hall. Sports Media. Draft starts in 45 seconds. This is a 10-man PPR league. It's going to go very fast. Hope you guys are loving the show. Hit that follow button if you're watching on YouTube or TikTok. Hit the like button. I guess on Instagram as well. Hit the like button, everybody. Make sure you're liking the content. Goes a long way in supporting the channel, so make sure you hit that like button. Our league starts in 15 seconds, everybody. 15 seconds, and again, 15 seconds per pick. So let's get going, everyone. Draft starts in 5, 4, 3, 2, 1. The draft is live, everybody. 15 seconds per pick, so know where you're going to go. It's going to go fast. Jesus, I really like Anthony Richardson. Very, very high on him. I am drafting 9th in this 10-man league. Carter Newman, 15 seconds. Yeah, you got to make your picks fast. It's going to fly. It's going to get harder the later we go. I know that. By the way, that's what I said to her. It's going to get harder the longer we go. Sorry, inappropriate joke. Only thing about drafting with fans is you can't say much on live. Cook, I give away my draft strategy. I'm not trying to hold it from you guys. If I did that, these lives would be useless while I did draft. So, no, I give away my strategy, and then usually someone like drafts the player I like right in that round or pretty close to. I'm drafting 9th in this 10-man league. First pick that I'm going to make is going to be Jonathan Taylor. Jonathan Taylor at number 9. 9th pick overall. 9th pick overall. I went Jonathan Taylor. I'm going to go Kyren Williams too. Because, again, I'm in a 10-man league and I'm in that 9 spot. Long time to wait. Long time to wait between round 2 and round 3. I didn't want to wait on a second running back, so I got Kyren Williams. Jonathan Taylor, Kyren Williams. I'm locked in at running back. Will you take Marvin Harrison Jr. in the 2nd round? Personally, I think that might be a bit of a reach. I like him more in the 3rd round. Who should I target with the 14th pick in a 14-man league? The best running backs on the board. Kyren Williams, Jonathan Taylor, Saquon Barkley. Try to get the best running back you can. Might want to take a wide receiver if you're actually doubling up at that point. Can you read off who went top 10? Sure. Christian McCaffrey, CeeDee Lamb, Breece Hall, Tyreek Hill. Those were the first 4. Then Justin Jefferson went 5. Bijan Robinson went 6. Jamar Chase went 7. Amon-Ra St. Brown went 8. Jonathan Taylor was my pick at 9. And A.J. Brown went 10. So 6 wide receivers, 4 running backs. The 4 running backs were Christian McCaffrey at 1, Breece Hall at 3, Bijan Robinson at 6, and Jonathan Taylor at 9. In the second round, 6 running backs off the board, 4 wide receivers. So in the first round, 6 wide receivers, 4 running backs. In the second round, 6 running backs, 4 wide receivers. Bit of a flip there. Again, I'm drafting 9th, so a long wait between round 2 and round 3. That's why I got my 2 running backs the way that I did. There were some wide receivers I really liked on the board, like Garrett Wilson. He went 2 picks later. But Kyren Williams, too much value for me to pass up given my spot. Jefferson's value goes down, Cook. It goes down. Kyren Williams or Travis Etienne? Jesus, I'd go Kyren Williams. Kyren Williams over Etienne. Leo, Royals, O's, D-backs game over. I like Royals. I like O's. I like D-backs actually on the money line, so that's where I come out. About to make my 3rd round pick. What do you think of Josh Allen as my QB? I think a lot of people are putting him as QB1. I don't think he ends the year as QB1. I have a lot of question marks around the Bills' offense. Speaking of, I need a wide receiver. Oh, man. I don't really want to double up on that. Oh, I accidentally took Josh Allen. Speaking of which, mistake by me. I took Josh Allen. I forgot we only had the 15 seconds. So that pick went by a little too fast for me. So right as we're talking Josh Allen, I accidentally took him. Oh, no! And then it took Sam Laporta. Why am I on auto pick? Wow, it just auto picked for me. Not awful. Josh Allen and Sam Laporta could be the better players at their position. But, oh man, Rival Fantasy just blew up my spot right there. Not the players I would have drafted. That kind of sucks. I got Etienne and Montgomery. Good for a 10-man league. It's okay. It's okay. You think Eckler will be good this year? No, I think he'll be all right. Not great. Jay Gons, in a 10-man league, what position should I focus on? In my first 4 rounds, I want 2 running backs and I want 2 wide receivers. In round 5, I'm either drafting a 3rd running back or a 3rd wide receiver. In round 6, I'm looking at tight end and quarterback or a wide receiver running back that has fallen that remains on the board. You think Eckler is going to be good? Not really. I think he's going to be okay. He's splitting touches. They're not going to utilize him a ton. If he wanted a high usage rate, he would have stayed where he was. He didn't. He wanted out. He doesn't actually want to get that many carries, as it turns out. Appreciate you guys being with us and watching the show. Hope you're having a wonderful Tuesday. If I don't say it enough, my favorite part of my day is talking sports with you guys. RBs are Etienne and Bijan. K-Dog, I like it. K-Dog, I like those 2 running backs a lot. Lamar Jackson just came off the board in round 5. We're still waiting on word about Brandon Ayuk. I know there are a lot of rumors circulating about him being traded to the Steelers. Haven't heard anything official just yet. So if you guys hear something, let us know. I'll be really curious to know about that. By the way, I didn't know that we are live on Twitter X. That's another thing. I didn't realize we were also on Twitter X. So if you're watching on Twitter, what's good? Milan, what's good? I got to draft some wide receivers right now. By the way, we do subscriber-only shows on TikTok. That's where we're going to focus on people's teams and give them much more personal advice rather than kind of rapid-fire advice. So with that in mind, make sure you subscribe on TikTok, and that way you can join us every time we do a subscriber-only show at night. I got Amon-Ra St. Brown and Kupp as my wide receivers. I really like Amon-Ra St. Brown. Kupp is a second wide receiver I like. As wide receiver 1, not as big on it. Why does IU want to go to the worst team in the division? I don't understand what... I think it's his relationship with Tomlin. Maybe it's he's got other friends on that team. But he does have a love for the Steelers that just goes above and beyond what I would have expected. Make sure you hit that like button, everybody. Hit that like button, hit that follow button. Make sure you're joining us every single day. Jansen, yes, I love Bregman over 1.5 total bases. Quan to get a hit, Bohm to get a hit. Jansen, I really like the picks that you just put up on Instagram that you're asking about. Can anyone explain what the F are the Jets doing with Hassan Reddick? It's not the Jets' fault. It's Hassan Reddick. Hassan Reddick is just being impossible to deal with. I don't think the Jets wanted to sign him to a new contract when they acquired him, but just because he wants one doesn't mean they have to give it. I actually think the Jets are doing the right thing, which is you can't let players dictate the negotiating process too much, or otherwise you will never get control of that again in future negotiations. So Hassan Reddick to me is the one who frankly is acting out of good faith, or is not negotiating in good faith. He said he was going to be at the workout at preseason. He's not. He's the one who's skipping. So I kind of come out on the Jets side of things, believe it or not. Diego, I think the Steelers are a 10-win team with Ayuk. They could be. They have that potential. It's all about quarterback play. Can they be good enough? There's just a giant question mark for me. So overall, I would say yes. I could see them being a 10-win team. But who's the quarterback? And are they really going to put up those kinds of numbers? What's up, Barely Positive? Philly, when you acquire a player, you're acquiring them on a little bit of a hope and a dream that they're going to be a model citizen. You just don't know. You know, when you hire someone in the corporate world, you're hoping that the interview they gave is who they're going to be when they show up for work every day. When you acquire a player in a trade, Hassan Reddick said he would show up. He said he behaved the right way. He's not. That's the issue. We got somebody who wants to join Frank. Frank's going to be a call. Oh, nope, you dropped Frank. Tried it. Couldn't. Barely Positive. It's football time. What? Cards. What's good? Kyron and Mark Andrews for my last keeper. Kyron Williams, and it's not close. Mark Elliott, rate the squad. Pick 8 of a 10-man. Lamar, Justin Jefferson, Diggs, Etienne, Kamara. I think you got a team that was good in the past. I don't know if it's going to be good in the present. I give it a B minus. What's Diggs going to be on the Texans? A lot of mouths to feed. What's Jefferson with Sam Darnold? I'm Etienne and Kamara. That makes Etienne your running back 1. I'll give it a B, but it's almost close to the B minus for me, Mark. Sorry about it. We got Philly who wants to hit me up. Let's see what CW wants to talk about.
What's up, man?
What's good? What you want to talk about?
Well, we were talking about it a little bit. Listen, the thing with me with the Jets in this, okay? When the Jets traded for him, everyone understood what was going on here. In that situation, you knew the player wanted a new deal.
Yeah.
Okay? Now, from what I understand, the Jets did offer him a contract, but it was under market value.
Mm-hmm.
That's what I am being told. I understand what you're saying, but on the flip end of that, for me, if you're the Jets, you don't make that deal unless you already have the contract.
I agree with you. Let me not excuse how moronic the Jets are. Because one, it's one of my favorite pastimes is taking a big old crap on the Jets. But second of all, no, you're right. The Jets should have done their due diligence and should have found out for sure that this guy was going to be a model citizen. Frankly, that he wanted to buy into what the Jets are building. Because the Jets have Super Bowl potential, at least on paper. So they should have done that. They should have gone to the agent. But to your point, I also think the Jets, they're not wrong in this way. Just because you want a new contract doesn't mean I need to give you shit. So you want to play in the NFL. What's that?
Okay, then don't trade for him.
But here's actually my point. The NFL CBA puts the players, this is an example of where the players get screwed in the NFL. If you don't want to play, fine. You don't get paid. And the length of an NFL career, you can't go a full year in your prime not making money. And especially with how this league rips you off from guaranteed money, you need to make every dollar you can. So eventually, do I think Hassan Reddick is going to be a stubborn horse who ultimately comes for a drink? I do. I just think it's going to be a lot of unnecessary drama, to your point, that just makes the Jets look, what's the word? Moronic? And that's the Jets.
Right. Here's the other thing I'm going to say with that. If he wasn't going to play for the 14 whatever million for the Eagles,
what makes me think he would do that for the Jets?
Right. Why in the world would anybody think he would do that for the Jets?
I will give you this. I will say this, and I understand you're from. I would assume you're from Philly, so this isn't a knock on the Eagles at all, because I think very highly of the Eagles. I love the roster they have, but the Jets are a better defense to me. On paper, I think they're going to be I think the Jets could maybe be the best defense in the league. I think the Eagles have some questions in the secondary. I think the Eagles are a good team. I still think there are a couple of questions.
Yeah.
Go ahead.
I like what they did in the draft, and early on, I like what I've seen from Quinyon Mitchell.
Oh,
Very
absolutely.
small sample size.
So, but here's my only point. Here's my point to what you're saying. So if the Jets are a top 3 defense, if you go there on a 1-year deal like he does, like Reddick's got now, and you perform well, and the defense looks amazing, that could be the springboard you need to cash in. And I guess what I'm saying is that would have made sense to me. And again, it's out of that kind of good faith, which is you just didn't have... The Jets probably weren't being truthful with the agent because they were never going to offer him the contract he really wanted, if at all, and they probably said they were considering it. So I think there's a bit of bad faith on both sides.
Right. And here's my deal with what you're saying. I'm not going to disagree with it, but the Jets talking about good faith, if you're the Jets and you're trying to do that, why don't you throw him a couple more bucks towards...
Well, I think that's what's going to end up happening. What I think is going to end up happening...
Because he eventually will
right.
eventually report.
Right.
Because 50K a pop is going to be something.
Because being taxed money you thought you would be making is even worse. It's one thing to not make a contract. It's another thing to be taxed on that as well. So the combination of the two... To your point, how do I think you smooth this out? I think eventually the Jets will know their cap situation, will throw him a bone to say, hey, sorry, no, we're not going to sign you long term. Here's more money for this year, and sell him on what I just said, which is you have the chance to really promote yourself for your next contract.
Because he is 30. This is probably going to be
the last big one.
Big contract.
Right. Yeah. This is it. By the way, I don't care what he does in this next contract. This will be the last big contract. It just, you're not getting another one if you're in his position. So I think there are a lot of reasons for me to, one, think that this is a move that on both sides, bad faith negotiating. I actually think it was a great move by the Eagles. The Eagles are the ones who lucked out because they avoided the headache. Bryce Huff is a dog. I don't think people notice. Huff is one of the better pass rushing edges. I'm a big fan of his. So I think it's a great move for the Eagles, and the Jets look like they got egg on their face.
Well, that's the whole thing with me. I get what you're saying, and I don't disagree with it. But like you said, do your due diligence and understand he's not going to play. There's going to be drama here because he's not going to play right away on the existing contract.
Here's a question for you. And here I'm going probably one step farther than I should down the rabbit hole, and I'm playing a little bit of sports media in New York, radio host kind of content. But here's one note for you. The Jets are getting a little bit of help from Hassan Reddick. A little bit of help, and I'll only say they're getting help in this way. You know who I'm not talking about because of Hassan Reddick? I'm not talking about Aaron Rodgers. I'm not talking about his health. I'm not talking about him going into some retreat. I'm not talking about his bullshit. So the one positive that I will say, and again, this is more of a WFAN fan or listener here in New York, that is the kind of narrative of at least Hassan Reddick, at least we're talking about a player that really in the long term won't be the deciding factor of this team. It's just some preseason, some camp drama.
That's hilarious.
It's totally true. Because the more the Jets focus, or the more the focus of the Jets is on Aaron Rodgers, the more the pressure in that pot just grows and grows and grows. Talking about Hassan Reddick, it makes the Jets look bad, it makes the front office look bad. It's also not something that's going to end up on the New York Post and have New York buzzing about it. If Aaron Rodgers does anything, it creates that kind of buzz. So, interesting conversation, CWK.
I was going to real quick say, and I'll let you go. I forget. Who is the, because I heard it and I forget the other name. Hassan Reddick and one other player are 4 straight years 10 plus. Who else? I forget who the other guy was.
4 straight years with 10 plus sacks?
Yeah.
Wow, I don't know that off the top of my head. Like, obviously I'm curious because it's like, well, TJ Watt, Myles Garrett, like, are they on, you know, like...
It was Garrett.
I mean, those are the first 2 names. But by the way, that tells you all you need to know about how talented he is as a player when Myles Garrett's the other guy on that list and TJ Watt is not. And Micah Parsons is not. And the Bosa boys are not. So, no, great pick. I'm a big fan of his. I think he's going to be a great addition.
All right, man.
Be good. Join the show again soon. Loved having you on.
All right, thanks. Bye-bye.
If you guys want to join the show, feel free. Michael wants to join the show next. Let's see what Michael wants to talk about. Michael, what's good?
What's up, man? I just wanted to get your opinion on the Christian McCaffrey injury.
Okay, I thought Christian McCaffrey was going to regress this year anyways. He was healthy too much of last year. Like, if we know anything about this guy, expecting him to play 16 games or 17 games is just unrealistic. He almost played a full season last year except for the final few weeks of the year. I just feel like he's only going to play like 10, 11 games. I just feel like health's going to be a bit of a challenge. If Brandon Ayuk does get traded, I like the 49ers offense even less. There are more question marks about the 49ers this year than last year. I would say he's still worth a first-round pick, but to me, he's not a first overall pick. Like, if I kind of want to avoid him a little bit. There's a part of me that hopes someone else drafts him so I don't have to like be left with that question. I think Breece Hall, Bijan Robinson, I think they are running backs I actually have more faith in being RB1 this year at the position over McCaffrey.
All right. Yeah, I took CMC number 1. So I was thinking, do you think that I would win a trade if I were to trade CMC for Bijan and Debo?
Wow. Great question. I think yes, because if I already like Bijan more than Christian McCaffrey, getting anybody on top of that is win plus something else. But Debo wouldn't be the player I'd actually want. I'd almost be willing to take maybe some other players who are like flyers, who may be like overlooked a little bit. I think Debo's, again, I don't really want to buy in the 49ers offense like I did a year ago. There are just some question marks there, you know, in ways there weren't before. Debo's value might go up slightly with Ayuk gone, but I love the Bijan part of it. By the way, if you keep CMC, I don't think you're going to have a bad year. I just think, no, you're not getting the number 1 fantasy player like you thought you might have been.
Yeah, that's the thing. I was concerned about all his injury concerns because he's already injured in practice.
Right.
So,
and again, you feel like keep in mind too, the 49ers have had long postseason runs, and that's something we kind of forget, but you think that dude's had an extra month of football the last 2 years. So he already isn't necessarily best at avoiding injuries. He's injured to start the year, and he's had to endure more football than other players at his position over the last few seasons. There's just some reason for me to think he's a fade a little bit. Now, you've already drafted him, so I'm sorry. I don't want to be like, oh, fade him. I think he's I think he's an RB1. I think he's still worth owning, but maybe consider a trade in which, you know, as long as you don't feel like you're getting the lesser of it. Bijan plus another player, no, that's a good return.
Yeah. Yeah, because I have Breece Hall on my team. I made a trade for him too. So
dude, first of all, how you got Breece Hall and Christian McCaffrey is stupid to begin with. But like, So you're in a great spot. You're actually in a great spot because no matter what, I think you've got a true RB1. Frankly, you have two. I think you're in a phenomenal spot. Trade them, keep them. I don't think you can do wrong. I also get the sense that you are a better fantasy player than other owners in your league. So, if you could take advantage of a inexperienced owner or someone who doesn't understand McCaffrey might have a lesser year, maybe you do try to trade, bait them, ask for maybe a little bit too much, see what they come back as a counter. I think there's some opportunity there.
All right, I appreciate all the info. I'm gonna let you go now.
Awesome. Join the show anytime, man.
All right, yes sir.
Okay, if you want to join, feel free. Manya is going to be next to join. Let's see what Manya wants to talk about. What's good?
Yo, how are you doing?
How you living?
I'm chilling. I'm actually in a position where I don't know what to do. I'll be honest. With this Gibbs injury, I don't know how.
Oh, when you leave the app, you mute yourself. So stay on the app, buddy.
Oh, okay, my fault. With this Gibbs injury, I don't know how screwed I am. I'll be honest.
So here's what I would do. I don't think you can move on from Jahmyr Gibbs because I don't think people are going to trade for him right now. So what I would try to do is I would put together a package to go get David Montgomery. If you don't already have David Montgomery, get him. Go make a trade to acquire him, put him on the bench, and that way you have the insurance policy right there. I love the Lions. I love the Lions offense. I love the Lions running game. They have maybe the best offensive line in the NFL. I love how their offensive system, they didn't change offensive coordinators. They should be really, really good offensively and again on the ground. David Montgomery, having him just in case if Jahmyr Gibbs is out a week or two or if the hamstring injury persists, that would be the approach because trying to trade Jahmyr Gibbs now, you'll probably be selling him at a lower value and not getting enough in return. Go try to get David Montgomery, who, his value's gone up, but he isn't going to cost you a stupid package in exchange.
Yeah, I did. I tried that. My friend's being stubborn. I don't know. He's being very annoying. I tried to give him Addison's at a weird price right now.
See, here's the problem. Jordan Addison lost. Here's the problem. You tried to trade someone who lost value in Jordan Addison with someone who gained value in David Montgomery. So, no, I don't disagree with the other owner in rejecting that trade. You're going to have to come up with something that's a little bit better than that.
Yeah, I don't know because I have really weird situation. I have my lineup is Jordan Love, Joe Mixon, Jahmyr Gibbs, Jamar Chase, Michael Pittman, Dalton Kincaid, which I think is the number one tight end this year, and then Brandon Aubrey and the Packers defense. I don't know what I'm doing, to be honest.
Who's on your bench?
My bench, I have Jordan Addison, Dalton Schultz. I took Blake Corum because I don't know how well Kyron Williams is going to get the rock this year because they might split his reps. I think
Blake Corum right now is one of the most overrated running backs.
Really?
I think Kyron Williams is more of a true RB1 than people think. I think a lot of people are building up the Blake Corum narrative, and I'm not saying he doesn't have value. I think he's a good sleeper pick, but I also think people are forgetting how good Kyron Williams was last year. He was arguably the best fantasy running back outside of Christian McCaffrey. You could have argued he was the best fantasy player outside of Christian McCaffrey for at least half the year. So I like the Blake Corum idea as an insurance lottery play, but again, you're trying to get David Montgomery. Maybe you've got to put together something that's a little bit crazy to try to go get him.
What would you do? Would you trade Mixon? I don't know. I'm kind of high.
I would trade. Look, I don't value Mixon that much. I'm not big on Mixon. So actually, I actually would do that trade. And I actually might look to the waiver wire or make another trade to get a backup running back. But I'm not big on Joe Mixon. Maybe you don't want to do that deal because then you're overloaded on Lions running backs, but then you're sure of an RB1 on a good offense. I don't know if Joe Mixon's even gonna get that kind of production.
Yeah, I just don't know what to do because I have Nick Chubb on the bench. I took him just in case he comes back.
Again, I think you got to go after David Montgomery because I think what you're actually buying, you're buying an RB1 on a top running game. That's the Lions running back. Whether it's Jahmyr Gibbs or David Montgomery, that's what you want to lock in. Now, what I'm really hearing is the problem is you have a stubborn friend who's going to push you, and maybe the point is maybe like any good negotiation, if you're in business at all, maybe give it a little bit of time. Right now, the market's a little bit too hot. His player just gained value, yours lost value. You're looking to make a move. He's very aware of that. Give it a couple of days. Give it a week. You have a little bit of time. It's mid-August. Give it a little bit of time. Circle back around. And in that time, start to identify a couple other players that you'd be willing to trade for who could maybe be that RB2, because you probably won't get RB1 value. But put together some packages. See what he responds to. But maybe give it a couple days and let him calm down in terms of overall stubbornness.
Yeah, I mean, like, I was looking at Michael Pittman. I don't know how well he's going to do because of the Anthony Richardson situation. Like, that's a very run-heavy offense, especially with Shane.
See, I'm very high on Michael Pittman Jr. Very high.
You are? Yeah,
very high.
I don't want to trade him.
I wouldn't want to trade him either, but again, this is where you're going to... This is advice to you and every other listener who is going to make a trade at some point in fantasy football. In order to get the player you want, you're probably going to have to give up a player you don't want to give. Unless you're in a really bad league. Unless you have bad owners in your league. And frankly, do you even want to win in those leagues? They don't even feel like real wins. So, when you're playing in a good league and you have good owners that you're competing against, you may have to give up a little bit. Now, I'm with you. I wouldn't want to give up maybe Dalton Kincaid, but Michael Pittman Jr., I might be willing to trade him. Again, not for David Montgomery straight up, but like, you know, David Montgomery plus something else. And now you've turned the tables in the negotiation a little bit, because now the other owner is going, man, Michael Pittman Jr. is now the best player in this deal. I'd actually like to acquire the best player in the deal. Maybe the package I'm being asked to give up isn't worth it, but I'm willing to negotiate. So as long as you get the dialogue going, I think that's really important. But definitely David Montgomery is where I'd like to go.
Yeah, because look, I have at my flex, I have George Pickens, and I'm actually very high on him this year. I mean, I don't know what the situation is.
He's someone I would trade. I'd love if you could put together a package in which you trade George Pickens and trading George Pickens and Nick Chubb for David Montgomery is a really interesting trade. I think it'll probably get rejected, but I think it's really close. Really close.
Yeah, I don't think he takes Chubb, though. I'll be honest. Knowing him, I don't think he takes Chubb.
It's too bad because I actually think Nick Chubb is a bit of like a sleeper play, but, you know.
Yeah, he is. That's why I drafted him.
I think it's a good sleeper pick. I actually think it's a good draft pick. So that's one of the reasons I didn't want to necessarily give up Chubb. Part of me like wants to give up Mixon before Chubb, but I know that's wrong, but, you know.
Yeah, I think Mixon's actually going to... Because the Texans, I mean, even with Devin Singletary, they were doing pretty well. So I'm just like, I want to see how...
They're going to be so heavy on the passing game. I think Mixon could be good in getting touchdowns. I just question whether he's going to get overall production. Here, I'm going to let you go so we can get some other folks on the line, okay?
Yeah.
Be good, man. Come, join anytime. Yeah. Another caller. Let's see what Trouts wants to talk about. Getting this caller loaded up. Going once. Going twice. Not joining. Didn't join. Anyway, probably for the best. I got to sign off. I got to go run and do some other things. Our picks are up on the SHARPZ app. If you want any of the bets I made today in baseball, DM me on Instagram. Buttfumble Sports. DM me on Instagram. I give away my picks for free every day. So if you want every bet that I make for baseball or any of my sports bets, I do my sports betting research every day. I give away my picks for free. Just DM me on Instagram. Buttfumble Sports is my company. It's my handle on Instagram. Buttfumble Sports. DM me on Instagram. I'll give away my picks for free. Can't wait to see you guys again tomorrow. Not quite sure what time. Might be an early show. So check our schedule. Make sure you follow. Make sure you subscribe. Make sure you're with us every time that we're live. Love having you guys on the show. Loaded show today. 2 drafts. Baseball picks. Obviously, we got in some calls. We're going to be doing that a lot over the next few weeks. Hope you have a wonderful evening. Enjoy the baseball games tonight. And again, DM me on Instagram to get every bet that I make every day for free. Until tomorrow, have a wonderful night. Stay healthy, stay safe. Be good, everybody. Goodbye, everyone.